This is just me dot connecting here. It's the Miami Dolphins who have a huge decision to make when it comes to their own quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. The Dolphins are looking to explore trading partners for their starting quarterback, but if Miami decides to just cut Tua, it would leave a $99 million dead cap hit, which would be the largest in NFL history. Keep in mind that Tua led the NFL with 4,624 passing yards in 2023, made his first and only Pro Bowl that year. He then went on to sign a 4-year, $212.4 million extension of July that following offseason. Since then, things have not gone great. The Dolphins single collar is below 500 and has seen dips in both his quarterback rating and his yards per attempt over the last 2 seasons. So, Graz, it's going to be a difficult pill to swallow for Miami no matter what. How likely is it they find a trade partner, though?
I don't think it's super likely, Field. He's guaranteed $54 million this year, and another $3 million for next year becomes guaranteed early in the league year next month. So if the Dolphins are going to trade Tua, they're probably going to have to pay down some of that contract. Keep in mind that $99 million dead money is roughly the same percentage of the cap that Russell Wilson's $80 was for the Broncos 2 years ago.
I understand that, but I would actually lean towards not only letting go of Tua, but going with Quinn Ewers, a young quarterback who last year got a chance to show what he could do. I understand the dead cap hit, I get that, but with the new coach in town and a new culture, it's likely that they're not necessarily going to find a trade partner, but release Tua, take the cap hit, and start afresh either with Quinn Ewers or maybe address it in free agency, maybe a guy like Kirk Cousins or the draft.
You got to throw up the hook 'em horns and you bring up Quinn Ewers, my friend Sam Macho. The Cardinals find themselves in a similar position to the Miami Dolphins as they are also exploring to trade their veteran quarterback, that being Kyler Murray. If Arizona decides to release Murray before June 1st, they would take on a $54.7 million dead cap hit. A lot, but not much compared to Tua Tagovailoa. If you did this as a post-June 1 cut, you can spread that money out over 2 years. After 3 seasons with Jonathan Gannon at the helm, Arizona has turned to Mike LaFleur as their new head coach. LaFleur has served as the Rams' offensive coordinator the last 3 seasons. He's now going to look to turn the Cardinals' offense into what is arguably the toughest division in the sport. They do have the 3rd overall pick in the upcoming draft. So, Tim, what should Arizona's plans be for Kyler Murray?
I think they should plan on releasing him. Much like the Tua situation, I don't know that you end up finding a trade partner for Kyler. Now, I do think when he hits the open market, there will be teams that are very interested in him, mainly because, he's been a starter. He does have a unique skill set that I think that coaches believe that you can win with. And there are going to be places, whether it's the Atlanta Falcons who, find themselves in a really tough situation because of their quarterback situation. Minnesota, who may be looking at their situation much like Indianapolis looked at theirs with Anthony Richardson to say, look, we need to bring somebody in to compete. Maybe he will play. And so I think situations like that will be attractive to somebody like Kyler Murray. And so ultimately, I think it's a release and then hit free agency. And then I think there'll be a market after the Malik Willis market for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, similar to what we said about the Dolphins and Tua, if the Cardinals are going to succeed in trading Kyler Murray, they probably have to pay down some of the contract. $36.8 million guaranteed this year. And if he's on your roster the 3rd day of the league year, about 5 weeks from right now, $19.5 million of his 2027 money becomes fully guaranteed. So that's going to be a lot for an acquiring team, especially giving up draft picks to get him to want to take on. I lean toward him being released, but I guess if the Cardinals are willing to swallow a chunk of the money, it is possible they could get somebody to trade for him.
Assuming this is it for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, just 1 playoff appearance in 7 seasons is being taken number 1 overall. It was a tough loss for the Patriots in Super Bowl 60, falling 29-13 to the Seahawks, whose relentless defense smothered New England's offense all night. Tough night, of course, for their Patriots first-round pick, Will Campbell, who spoke today to the media.
I know myself, and if I would have spoken after, I would have said something that I didn't need to say. Obviously, I was picked high and paid a lot, so people expect a certain thing, and I expect more myself. I mean, obviously it sucks, but it doesn't suck for anyone more than it sucks for me.
He'll get better and get stronger There's moments where he played well, moments where he blocked a guy. There's plays he'd like to have back. We're not moving Will to guard or to center or to tight end or anywhere else.
Tim, it wasn't a pretty performance for the Patriots offense for much of this postseason, but what do you make of hearing that vote of confidence for Will Campbell from Mike Vrabel?
Well, it makes sense, based on where they drafted him. I mean, to kick somebody to guard who was drafted that high after year one would be a pretty significant move. And so I think that, look, they probably have belief that he'll improve as a player. Look, every offensive lineman in the Super Bowl, other than Garrett Bradbury, was responsible for a sack on Drake May. There are a lot of guys that can improve their play based on, one game of the Super Bowl of what we saw. So he's a rookie. I'm sure that they believe in how they can coach him up and how he'll develop. And when they drafted him, it wasn't a one-year plan. So I'm not surprised to get the vote of confidence, from Vrabel on him. Not surprised by the accountability that Campbell took. And also not surprised that they're going to go into this offseason with him penciled in as their left tackle.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, too, because oftentimes you see a situation like that and you say, let's go address it in the draft. Well, how about you address it within the building, meaning you improve as a player? Will Campbell, Jared Wilson, that's the whole goal. Even young receivers, guys like Kyle Williams, this is your chance going from a rookie to the NFL. Talk about a welcome to the NFL moment. This is the expectation. The Seahawks defense is one of the better ones, but it's not the only defense. You got to go against guys like Myles Garrett and guys like Will Anderson. That is the standard. And so now that you've seen that standard, people don't talk about it a lot, but this is your chance to improve. Coach Vrabel said, get stronger, work on your technique, all those little things that you do to make yourself a better player and a veteran that can last long in the NFL.
Grass, time out for the Patriots to turn the page. What's going to be the priority for them this offseason?
Well, I think you'll see them look for an edge rusher or two. I think you'll see them look for a number one wide receiver. They tried really hard on that last offseason, ended up with Stephon Diggs, who played great for them, but is 32 years old. We mentioned A.J. Brown earlier. If the Eagles were to put him on the market, I'm sure the Patriots would be one of the very interested suitors. And then, the offensive line, every good team should always look to keep addressing that. Morgan Moses, the right tackle, is an older player. And what do you do with the rookies? Obviously, coach them up is the best case scenario, but they may look to fortify there as well.
I would look, if I'm the Patriots, to wide receiver in the draft, and I'm thinking of a guy like Denzel Boston, excuse me. He may not be there that late in the draft, but think about it. You have an opportunity to, with a young offensive line, a young quarterback, right, a good defense, to go and address the wide receiver position. Boston's a 6'4" receiver out of Washington, about 210. As I mentioned, there's some solid receivers in the draft. He may not be there at that late, but man, if you go and address that and have a guy who can maybe continue to learn from Stephon Diggs or maybe continue to compete with Kayshon Boutte, that's, I think, will be a big opportunity for improvement with this running game and the defense for New England.
Yeah, I think there's some clear opportunities. I think the right side of the offensive line could look different. We talked about the left side earlier. I think that remains the same, but I think the right side of the offensive line could look different. I would agree with Graz in that, edge rusher is something that they will be interested in. And then, Acho, you're exactly right. Receiver is a big deal, I think, for New England. As was stated, look, they were in the market for it a year ago. Yes, Stephon Diggs played well, but that's not the long-term solution in terms of number one wide receiver in New England. So I would expect them probably through the draft to spend a high pick on receiver, but then also be interested in a veteran receiver because of the bust rate in terms of drafting wide receiver. So plenty of clear areas for New England to try to improve. Look, they are ahead of schedule, in terms of the success they had this season under year one with Mike Vrabel, but definitely some areas where they can improve, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
A big year for the Patriots and a big offseason coming up. We have time for one more thing, and for that we check in with Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker III and Sam Darnold, who are fresh off the Super Bowl win and just, of course, casually enjoying the teacup ride together at Disneyland. The Yates girls, age 4 and 2, also enjoyed this ride last time we went to Disney. What a moment it was for Sam Darnold and Kenneth Walker III. Sam Acho, are you a big teacups guy when you visit Disney with your family?
Hey, I'm a big Disney guy, man. I might be going in a couple weeks, so I don't know if they'll still be celebrating there, but if they are, I'm going to see Kenneth Walker. I might not be in the teacup ride, though. I want to go in like the little splash one.
Magical place on earth. A huge offseason in the NFL is underway. We are back tomorrow here on NFL Live.